Hi everyone. Let's go over the last two assigned questions. Okay, they come from page 216 and 217 for chapter 6. So Memex Corporation manufactures memory expansion boards for microcomputers. The average selling price of the finished product is 180 per unit. So there's your selling price. The average variable cost per unit is 110. There's your variable cost. Memex incurs fixed costs of 1.26 million per year. Okay, so there's your fixed cost. And remember, that's per year. So we have to make sure when they're asking us questions, we're using the right amount. Maybe they're going to ask us what something is per month, and then we'd have to change that to a monthly basis. So just watch that, okay? What is the break-even point in unit sales? Okay, so how many units do we have to sell to break even? So as you know, to break even, your total revenue is going to equal your total cost. Or if you want to do for net income being 0, you could say total revenue minus total cost equals 0. Both are the exact same formula, just in different formats. So the solution I have, we're going to do total revenue equals total cost. So for total revenue, we have 180x, because it's 180 for selling price, and x represents the number of units. And then that is equal to 110x, which is your variable cost, plus 1.26 million, which is your fixed cost. We're going to move the x's to the left side, so we have to subtract it from both. That leaves us with 70x equals 1.26 million. Now we need to change that to just x, so in order to get rid of the 70, we have to divide both sides by 70. So if you divide 1.26 by 70, it's going to leave you with x equals 18,000 units. Okay? And remember, maybe the question says, tell me in a sentence how many units. So then it would be, in order to break even, they need to sell 18,000 units per year. Okay. What sales revenue must Memex achieve in order to break even? Well, we know the number of units, and we know that the selling price is 180 per unit, so multiply those two together, and that gives us 3.24 million, or 3,240,000. What will the company's profit or loss be at the following levels of sales for the year? So the first one that they're giving us is 20,000 units. Well, we know to break even, they have to have 18,000 units. So we can, by looking at this, we can know for sure that if they sell 20,000 units, there's going to be a profit. But if they only sell 17,500, they're going to have a loss. Okay, so you know that right up front. So let's calculate it out. So for 20,000 units, okay, we want to find out what the profit is. So we're going to use the N equals, or NI, net income equals. And here we've grouped it together. So instead of writing it out as SX minus VCX, we've taken the like factor of X, taken it out, so then it's S minus VC X minus fixed costs. Okay, so it's just simplifying it a little bit. So then if we take S, which is the 180, minus the variable cost per unit of 110, that's going to leave us with 70. Multiply that by the 20,000 units, which is 140. Hi, sorry about that. I said that wrong. I said 140, but 180 minus 110 is 70. Multiply that by 20,000, that gives you 1.4 million. So 1,400,000 subtract off 1.26 million gives you the net income of 140,000. So the company has a profit at a level of 20,000 units of 140,000. So now the same thing, but we're going to use the 17.5 instead of the 20,000 units. So again, we've got 180 minus 110 gives us 70. 70 multiplied by 17.5. So 70 multiplied by 17,500 gives us 1,225,000. Subtract off 1,260,000, and that gives us a loss of 35,000. Okay. D, how many units must we sell to have a net income of 315,000? So again, we're going to use the net income equals the S minus VCX minus fixed costs. So we want the net income to equal 315,000. We know that S minus VC is 180 minus 110, which would give us 70X minus 1.26 million. Okay, so if we get rid of the negative 1.26 million, move it to the other side, that gives us 1,575,000 equals 70x. So then if you divide both sides by x, it gives you x, or the number of units, to get 315,000 net income is 22,500. Okay, so E. What level of output would they have to sustain a loss of no more than 124,250? So if they foresee a loss and they know that they can't have a loss of greater than 124,250, how many units do they have to sell? Okay, so basically nobody aims for a loss, but just in case, let's have a look. So we know it's going to be less than 20,000 because they need 20,000 to break even. But if they have a loss of 124,250, so then you'd put your net income as negative 124,250, multiply the equation out again, just like we did in D, and that is going to give us X of 16,225 units. Okay, so final question, F. Let's have a look. What would be the new break-even number of units if fixed costs were reduced by 10%? Okay, so as you know, basically on a day-by-day basis, fixed costs do not change. It is what it is, okay? However, say the sales manager quit, moved on to a different job, and then you hired a new sales manager. Well, maybe you were able to pay this person a lower salary because they don't have as much experience or as many years, obviously, with the company. So then we'd be able to reduce the actual fixed costs. So if we were able to reduce fixed costs by 10%, what would be the new break-even? So you take your 1.26, multiply that by 1 minus your 10%, or 0.9, and that comes out to 1,134,000. Okay, so that is your new fixed cost. So then again, you do your total revenue equals total cost. The 180x equals 110x plus the new fixed cost of 1.134 million. You divide that number, you move your 110x to the other side, it gives you your 70x, just like all the other questions. divide each side by 70, and then X would equal 16.200 units, and that would be your new break even. Okay. So just like, once in a while, things can happen that will change your fixed costs, monthly or annual fixed costs. This one decreased, it could increase as well. So if your fixed costs increase, so say for example, your insurance went up, then we'd be looking at an increased fixed cost, and therefore our break even in units would be even higher. Okay, so let's have a look at number 2. Okay, so what is the unit sales volume at the break even point? So we have total revenue of 10 million, we have fixed costs of 2 million, we have total variable costs of 6 million. Okay, so as you know, we can either do the SP minus VC and multiply it out that way, just like we did in the others. But if we wanted to actually come up with the contribution margin ahead of time, okay, then it would be your SP minus your VC, which would be 10 million, which is your selling price or your total revenue, minus variable costs of 6 million. So therefore you would have a contribution margin of 4 million. So remember the last section that we looked at, which was 1.6 in your textbook or in the PowerPoints, sales minus variable cost gives you your contribution margin, okay? And that contribution margin, the reason it's called that is that contributes to paying off all of your fixed costs after your variable costs have been covered. Okay, so you can do this as a total for the company, like we are here, with total revenue, total fixed costs, total variable costs, or you can do it on a per unit basis as well. Okay, so if we're looking at total revenue, total variable costs, then we have a contribution margin of 4 million. So then the break-even point is fixed costs divided by your contribution margin. Okay, so we've got 2 million divided by 4 million means that we have 500,000 units to break even. Okay, so the second one, how many units must be produced and sold for the company to have a net income of $1 million for the year? Okay, so if we have net income of 1 million, so then we've got the break even. So it's the same formula as above, okay? We know that to break even, we need 500,000, okay? So you can either take the fixed cost plus your net income, add those two together and divide it by your contribution margin, or if you've already done the step for the break even, see here, X equals your break even volume, which is your 500,000. Then the next amount or the new amount that also needs to be covered is your net income. So then you take your net income divided by the contribution margin. So we've got the break even volume of 500,000 plus net income we want covered of 1 million divided by the contribution margin of 4 million adds 250,000 units. So we have the original 500,000 to break even, add the 250. So to have a net income of 1 million, we need 750,000 units. Let me know if you have any questions on this. Thanks, everyone.